Well, good afternoon and welcome to the September 3rd meeting of the Finance Committee. If you're joining us online, if you would please use your virtual hand to be acknowledged. If you'd like to speak under public comment or staff report, and Jennifer will recognize you and give you the ability to speak to us. If you're here in the meeting room, if you would make sure that your personal devices are turned to manners mode, we would appreciate that as well. And with that, we'll start with the first item.
Number 15, resolution reappropriating the fiscal year 2024 budget of the city of Cheyenne according to the provisions of Wyoming State Statutes 16-4-112 and 16-4-113.
Staff report.
Hi, Robin Lockman, City Treasurer. Before you is the last reappropriation for last fiscal year. The memo that I provided included a bunch of detailed information on the request, but I'll quickly provide some highlights. As you will see, I am requesting $834,857 from general fund reserves for various items. Although the budget for these items is coming from reserves, I would like to point out that I'm also estimating a general fund departments will be returning approximately $4.5 million in unspent budget for fiscal year 2024. The reason for most of the general fund requests is due to the way that I budget. As I indicated in my memo, it is impossible to budget in advance for unforeseen items such as employee vacation and sick leave accrual payouts, vandalism and theft expenses, utility and fuel costs, and costs related to accidents. Therefore, instead of just arbitrarily budgeting an unknown amount for these items, I chose to wait until the end of the fiscal year to backfill each department's budget from reserves. There were also 2 additional requests from general fund reserves, including the purchase of 3 used vehicles for the compliance building inspectors in the amount of $100,702, as well as $76,420 for unforeseen facility maintenance expenses. Please let me know if you have any questions on these general fund reserve requests or any of the other fund requests, and the applicable directors are in the audience if you have specific questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Any questions from committee? Councilman White.
Madam Chair, through you to Robin. Robin, thank you for this detailed report and also mentioning the fact that despite this request is coming out of reserves, monies returning to reserves will kind of offset, even more than offset that. My question for you, ma'am, is under page 2, vandalism theft expenses. I see that it's an increase of $49,455. Could you compare that amount to last year's expenditure for the same category, or do you have that on hand, or could you provide it in an email?
Madam Chair, I can provide it in an email. I don't know it off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I just know that we've taken many steps to improve security around city buildings and property this year, and I just kind of want to see how it pans out.
And in talking with Director Sanchez, we believe that it actually is a decrease over last year.
I wondered if it was. It seemed like it was to me too. I just kind of wanted to be sure on that. Thank you.
Any other committee comments?
Just a comment.
Councilman Johnson.
So seeing on the list in regards to the 2 automobile crashes into the art guilds, I've been working on this since around February. Can we please come up with a solution on how, because I've been turned down so far for the planters saying that they will kill someone if they crash into the building again. And so can we look into another way of actually, you know, through the engineering department, or whoever wants to take this on for something that can actually be used to effectively block vehicles from crashing into this building?
Vicky Nemechek, Public Works. We did work with the traffic engineer to come up with an idea to try to notify people so they don't go straight into the park and run into the Artist Guild building. We put up a sign that has flashing lights around it on the end of, is it 17th? I think it is 17th Street. So we haven't had anybody yet, and we were talking about landscape rocks there. But again, you don't want to kill somebody to prevent an accident that would otherwise not injure someone. So that was our best shot.
I was suggesting a sign, Councilman Johnson, that just said only insured people may hit the building.
Well, I could never figure out through my email threads, I could never grasp the concept that if the building actually collapsed on them, that the building potentially could kill them as well as a flower pot or another retainer. So that's why I was kind of looking at, we had other options to, kind of, because I've talked with the Art Guild, they said if we would have even put up jersey barriers, they had artists there that could actually liven them up, with painting them, and then they said they'd take care of flower pots, but the flower pots were said no. So I don't know if we can, because jersey barriers would seem a logical option because they're actually used for, traffic to not hit specific things except for the jersey barrier. So I don't know if that's something that we can look into because they already said they would paint them as if we needed them.
Thank you. Any other comments from committee? Okay. Hearing none, any public comment? Doesn't look like it. So I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to adopt.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman White, a second by Councilman Johnson to adopt. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This item will move forward with recommendation to adopt at the next meeting of the council. Next item, please.
Number 17F, contract between the City of Cheyenne Police Department and Tyler Technologies for maintenance and support services of the police department's records management software.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Joel Hickers with the Cheyenne Police Department. What you have before you is the updated contract for our support services and maintenance with Tyler Technologies. Tyler Tech oversees our records management program, our mobile interface for calls for service, which allows us to dispatch officers and allows them to do police reports. We also have the Brazos interface, which allows them to issue summonses and citations electronically and to print them onto thermal paper rather than having to do the handwritten citations that we used to do, as well as Socrata, which does our crime mapping and crime tracking to help us to effectively respond to areas that are experiencing, excuse me, more criminal activity in any given time frame or any specific crime type. The current contract expires September 30th of 2024. This new contract would be active October 1st of 2024 and go through September 30th of 2025. The cost of the contract is $140,043, and that is budgeted for within the IT contract.
140 or 147,000.
$147,043.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, any questions from committee? Councilman Johnson.
So I don't know if this is for you or if this is for the city attorney, since it looked like she stamped this. Is there any reason why this contract has a different force majeure clause than what we typically see in our contracts?
Councilman Johnson, I do agree. It's probably best for the city attorney.
Stephanie Boster, Cheyenne City Attorney. This is a software contract and they don't like to negotiate these contracts. So that's the reason why the force majeure clause is different. It's more of a take it or leave it, which is typical of a lot of our software contracts.
Follow-up question, Madam Chair, for Ms. Foster, through you, Madam Chair. Stephanie, on page, on Exhibit B, some of the language was a bit confusing. And so I just wanted to make sure with you. So we're going to move that this is $147,043 annually for 5 years. And then the total for that 5-year period. But could these amounts be open to change, or by locking down this contract, are those amounts locked down as well?
Madam Chairman, through you to Councilman White, I would say this is open to change. It would need to go through the council process if we had some kind of an increase, which would require a contract mod.
I appreciate that clarification. Thank you.
So, for a point of information from my own knowledge, are we voting, because what we've been given to vote on is an annual amount, but we've also been given a 5-year amount that is based on basically this amount times 5 years, which probably is not going to be accurate. So I'm guessing that we would still need to vote on this every single year for a new amount, or are we able to do the 5-year amount and then under a certain dollar amount, then the contract could increase without it coming back before finance?
I would recommend you approve the total amount of the contract, assuming no increases, because otherwise you would require that staff bring the contract to you every single year, and the likelihood of that occurring is probably not likely. So I'd approve the whole, because I don't believe we've brought a contract yearly that we've approved in this way. So my preference would be the entire contract for the full amount. If there's any increases based on Exhibit B, that becomes a contract mod.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yes. Okay. Okay, any other questions from committee? Okay, any public comment? Hearing or seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve in an amount not to exceed $147,043 annually for 5 years for a total of $735,215.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman White, a second from Councilman Johnson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Yeah, I was hoping that. I'm going to vote yes. So, this item will move forward with a recommendation to approve at the next meeting of the council. Next item, please.
Number 17G, license agreement between the City of Cheyenne and the United States of America Western Area Power Administration for the construction of the Terry Ranch Road Cheyenne 230 kV and the Owl Creek Cheyenne 115 kV transmission lines.
Okay, is there a staff report? Okay. Okay. Nobody's moving very fast today.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Finance Committee, Tom Cobb, City Engineer. Before you and for your consideration, obviously, is a permanent easement for a Whopper construction that goes across the roadway that's within the City of Cheyenne. Mr. Emmons can give you more detail on this, but this is obviously for, in relation to the Meta and obviously to get that power to that area. With that, I'll take any questions, or Mr. Emmons can answer more.
Okay. Are there any questions from committee? Okay. Do you want to speak?
No, Chairman, through you, Brad Emmons, AVI. Just to be clear, it's actually the opposite way. The WAPA lines are there already, so we're building the road. We're building the road under their WAPA lines, and therefore the need for the agreement.
Thanks, Brad. See, I told you I wasn't ready for this one. Okay.
Any other staff comments? Okay, any questions from committee?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Councilman Johnson.
Once again, for the city attorney, in regards to language, it says, typically I've seen City of Cheyenne licensee, but then there's a statement after it that says whether one or more. What does that entail to? Because if we're the licensee as the City of Cheyenne and then they're the United States of America Department of Energy, why do we need to have that whether one or more?
Chairman, through you to Councilman Johnson, it's my understanding WAPA is getting out of the transmission business and selling. So I think that language gives them the ability to transfer their operation to somebody else. So I think that's why they requested that language in this contract, but you're correct, Councilman Johnson, that is unusual.
Okay, so going from the comma, it ends with us as the licensee, but so whether one or more, it actually goes in association with the and United States of America instead of us, correct?
Through you, Chairman Aldridge to Councilman Johnson, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
This is where grammar is important, right? Or punctuation is important.
So,
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, any public comment? Hearing or seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Councilman White, a second by Councilman Johnson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. This item will move forward with a recommendation to approve at the next meeting of the council. Next item, please.
Number 17H, professional services agreement between the City of Cheyenne and Ayers Associates for the 19th Street Drainage and Intersection Improvements Project.
Hey, staff report. Good afternoon, Mr. Bay.
Good afternoon, West Bay Engineering. Before you is a contract between the city of Cheyenne and Ayers and Associates for the design of the 19th Street Drainage and Intersection Improvements Project. We did a formal request for proposals. We received proposals from 5 firms. Ayers was the front runner, was the high score for every one of the committee members, so they were selected. This project entails the design of a new hydraulic structure that goes over Crow Creek, realignment of 19th Street and reconfiguring the intersection of 19th Missile and Old Happy Jack Road. The total cost for this design contract is $712,446,000, which will be paid for in part by a FEMA grant and also 2019 fifth penny funds. I respectfully request your approval of this contract, and I'm available for any questions.
Are there any questions or comments from committee? Councilman Johnson.
Wes, so does this does the 18th Street Interceptor and the 26th Street Interceptor that we've done over the last few years, does that feed into this? You know, does it all go down into where you're planning in regards to 19th and Missile from those 2 projects? Because I know we did those other 2 interceptors, you know, over the last 10 years. So I didn't know if this fed into that.
Through you, Madam Chair. The 26th Street Interceptor ends up dumping into Crow Creek upstream of this location. The 19th Street dumps in downstream of the location of the new structure. Basically, the need for the structure is there's an overtopping issue. We're going to try to clear that up. That's how we got the FEMA money, is to increase the conveyance of Crow Creek at that location.
Any other questions from committee? I just had one question in reading through this and looking at A2D, the proposed improvements. I'm not seeing anything about a roundabout. Is that correct?
That is correct. Before we put this out for proposal, we did an analysis of the intersection, looked at future volumes, and it doesn't warrant a signal or a 4-way stop. You can do roundabouts in lieu of signalized intersections if they meet the warrants. It didn't meet the warrants, so a roundabout was eliminated.
Great. Any other questions or comments from committee? Any public comments? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve in an amount not to in an amount of $712,446.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Motion by Councilman White, second by Councilman Johnson to approve. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, this item will move forward with a recommendation to approve at the next meeting of the council. Next item, please.
Number 17I, professional services agreement between the City of Cheyenne and the Design Studio Incorporated for the restoration and remodel of the Cheyenne Pump House.
Okay, staff report, please. Don't everybody jump at once. Go.
Hi, Madam Chairman, Paul Bellotti, City Project Manager. Yeah, this is for the design work for rehabilitation of the pump house.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Bellotti? Councilman Johnson.
Yes, on your time of performance, I know this year we had some issues in regards to when our documents were going to be received in regards to whether it was November, you know, and then we had a past dated one that looked like it was going to be, you know, earlier in the year where they were playing catch up with us. So this date of April 15th of 2025 to complete all the documents, they believe that's manageable under their contract. That so if, you know, in April of next year, we're not kind of asking where our update is for our contract. I know that's just been some of our history this last year for TDSI and the pump house. I just was making sure that that date actually worked for them.
Madam Chair, through you, yes, that's what they're claiming. I can verify that, but that's what they're claiming, that they'll be able to make that date.
And we do have representatives from TDSI here if they'd like to comment on that.
Madam Chair, Randy Byers with TDSI. To respond to Councilman Johnson's question, yes, the April 15th date is what we're proposing for this particular contract. The previous contract went through several iterations because of the uncertainty of the use or disposition of the pump house. So that was the delay on the last contract. This contract is for complete construction documents for the restoration and tenant finish of the pump house. And as I said, that's the projected date.
Thank you. Any other questions from committee or comments? Any questions or comments from the public? Okay, hearing or seeing none, I would I'm sorry, Councilman Laybourne, I did not see you jump up there.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I was a member of the selection committee that reviewed these proposals and obviously the proper firm was chosen. This is a really important and interesting project here. I did have a question about the services not included. The architect's fees do not include the following: environmental investigation, phase 1 and phase 2. Has that environmental and phase 1 and phase 2 been completed?
That is a great question. It looks like Mr. Bellotti has an answer.
Chairman, through you, no, it hasn't. Our perspective at this point is to determine whether it's cost effective to actually complete the project, and then we'd move from there.
So that is an interesting question. I'm very familiar with that area and all the issues that exist there. So I think that if we're going to be proceeding with this, and I certainly support the fact that we are finally going to make a determination and begin, there are questions that need to be answered. And among them is some of the adjacent issues on that particular piece of city-owned property. So I'll be looking forward to continuing some of my questions because fundamentally, that very challenged building is actually the focus of many people's beliefs that it should be rehabilitated. And and of course, it's kind of tucked away. So certainly as we proceed, we can inform more people as to the leadership that the city of Cheyenne is showing here in historical architectural renovation. Because it is kind of unknown. I've been getting a lot of questions about this. And so I look forward to continuing this discussion and pointing out that it isn't just the building, it's the site. And that site has multiple considerations of the greenway path, the wetland, the access. So I certainly believe that this is a good move on our part. It's a very challenging one. And when we get to this beautiful picture here, I think everyone will be pleased. I look forward to continuing my involvement in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Laybourne. And it looks like Mr. Bay has a comment.
Good afternoon, West Bay Engineering. So this project was the site was part of a voluntary remediation program. It landed in my lap after we lost our previous drainage engineer, but they have been monitoring the groundwater. And I know that during construction, they had to test the material and ship it out to a special location. So is what I can do for the committee is get that information about the VRP program to you, so it might be able to answer some of the questions that came up today.
That would be really helpful. Thank you, Mr. Bay. Any other questions or comments from committee? Councilman Johnson.
Wes, can you come back up here, please? So in the services not included, is what you just addressed, does that fall under the testing or abatement design for hazardous materials? Is that where it falls, or under something completely different from this contract.
So through you, Madam Chair, I was not involved at the beginning of this. In fact, I didn't even know about it until I received a bill to pay it. But I assume that that's what it is about, but I would like to look into it and then I'll get back to you with an answer.
It looks like Mr. Byers has a response from TDSI.
Madam Chair, through you, Randy Byers, TDSI. Just to be clear, the RFQ for the project excluded hazardous material testing and abatement. So that is not included. Councilman Johnson and Councilman Laybourne are correct. There are questions that remain there that will need to be addressed, probably both in the building and on the site as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes. Chris? Oh, sorry. Okay. Mr. Bloom?
Chair, members of the committee, Charles Bloom, Planning and Development Director. Right now we have our Brownfield Assessment Grant, which does fund phase 1 and phase 2 environmental studies. What we will do is we'll work with our qualified environmental consultant, which is Granite Peak, to get this on that list, to have a phase 1 that will be completed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bloom. And you said that Brownsfield funding covers phase 1 and phase 2?
Yeah, it covers phase 1 and phase 2. We are presently under contract with them, and we do have remaining funds in that grant that would fully fund the environmental analysis, phase 1 and phase 2 for the site.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from committee? Councilman Johnson?
So Charles, under that, with your environmental investigations under the Brownfield, going back to the April 15th, that grant doesn't have an expiration date on it, that everything should fall into place, correct?
Chair, through you to Councilman Johnson, that is correct. Presently, it does not have an expiration date. We are able to seek renewal for additional funding, which we do anticipate to do in upcoming months as well.
Any other questions from committee? Any other public comments? I think is actually what we're on. Okay, I would just like to remind everyone that these services do not include that list there that includes removing the additions from the building that were put on. So this is, I'm guessing that we did not, when we put this out for proposal, we did not put that on there. So just a note that this is not going to take us from where it's at to the picture that we've been given without additional funding. So, Mr. Byers?
Madam Chair, Randy Byers with TDSI. I'm not sure what you're looking at there, though. The intent, I believe, of the city, yes, I understand the rendering. That's a rendering that we've done. The intent of the project will be to include demolition of the two metal building additions that are to the east, as well as the second floor addition to the original building. So those, we are anticipating that those will be included with in the construction documents.
So the item here says detailed quantity takeoff construction cost estimates.
That's a different matter.
That's different things we're taking off?
Yes, the two additions that are on the east side and the second floor addition to the original building will be part of demolition plans as part of the overall renovation and restoration.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve an amount of $424,200.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman White, a second from Councilman Johnson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Okay. I will be voting aye as well. This item will move forward with our recommendation to approve at the next meeting of the council. Next item, please.
Number 17J, drainage as easement agreement granted by Kenrich LLC to the city of Cheyenne to ensure maintenance of a stormwater conveyance system along the Christensen Road corridor.
Good afternoon again.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Finance Committee, Tom Cobb, City Engineer. And this one I am prepared to speak of, so I apologize on the other one still. Didn't even know that was going to be in front of you. Before we on your consideration is a permanent drainage easement granted by Kenrick LLC to the city of Cheyenne along Christensen Road. So there's going to be another one of these, just to be clear. This is one of the skeletons of the closet that has been in for a long time when I inherited Christensen Road back 5 years ago. There were 2 locations where easements should have been obtained but were not. And I didn't have the staff until now to actually get these straightened up. But so this is be one of 2 that we move forward with. We're looking in this case, so construction activities actually encroached into their property with some riprap and other components. And the company here, I had spoke with back in the day that they knew this was coming and they would be compensated for it, but I told them it was going to take some time. So just make sure that you know that I made these folks aware and we knew the issue was coming and we needed to rectify it. It's basically only 446 square feet. And based on the diminution value, based on the appraisal, it comes to a matter of about $424. And that will come from the Christensen Road 2017 specific purpose tax. And with that, I'll take any questions you might have of me.
Any questions or comments from committee? We wish all of our dollar amounts were this amount. Any public comment? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve an amount not to exceed $424.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman White, a second from Councilman Johnson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, this item will move forward with recommendation to approve at the next meeting of the council. Next item, please.
Number 17K, interagency agreement between the city of Cheyenne and the state of Wyoming Department of State Parks and Cultural Resources to outline projects, responsibilities, and special provisions at the High Plains Research Station and Arboretum.
Staff report. Oh, you're not on.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, Amber Ash, Chief of Staff for the city. Before you today is the interagency agreement between State Parks and the City of Cheyenne for the High Plains Research Station and Arboretum. This interagency agreement is to outline both the roles and responsibilities of State Parks as well as the city, and then special provisions for changes to the agreement based on any actions the state legislature may take. So at the 2024 budget session, House Enrolled Act 50 appropriated $3.5 million for operations, site improvements, facility stabilization, major maintenance, and up to 2 at-will employees for this. And this agreement will allow them to expend those funds at the site with the hopes that this year with the legislature, we may be able to be designated as a state historic site. We do have Carly Ann and Dr. Rennie here, as well as Director Sanchez sits on that consortium committee as well. So we're happy to field any questions, or I'll let Mark add to it.
Good afternoon, Councilman Rennie.
Committee members, how are you today?
Thanks.
Mark Rennie. I attended a meeting recently on behalf of this, and since I'm the council's representative of the Friends of Botanic Gardens and the Arboretum falls under the Botanic Gardens, I've been involved in this from the start. I just want to, I guess, remind you that as a body, we passed a resolution some time back in support of this and wanting to move it along as best we could. This is the next essential step that we have to have done. They've always been on a somewhat short timeline, and the timeline has gotten even shorter. And the reason for that is, as you know, and as Amber Chief of Staff Amber Ash just said, they were given $3.5 million to spend on it, but they were not given any management abilities. And the intent was that that would come up in the next legislature. With some of the results in the primaries around the state, there's some fear that this may be a little bigger ask than what we thought it was going to be. As a result, they would like to do as much as they can before the next legislature and and the hope is, if nothing else, have at least the plans set complete so that if the next legislature or a future legislature does designate this a state historic site, we would be ready to go. So again, and I can maybe answer any questions. I know Carly Ann Carruthers is here from State Historic Parks and Historic Sites. And if you have any technical questions, she can address those.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from committee? I see that this says that it's no payment shall be made to either party by the other party as a result of this agreement. And it looks like it's committing us to $3,500,000 in the motion that we have before us.
Madam Chairman, that 3.5 million would be the state parks responsibility.
Madam
Right.
Chairman Mark Rooney, there is no dollar commitment at this point on behalf of the city.
Okay. So it's just a motion to approve, not necessarily in any amount of.
Correct. You are approving today for us to be able to enter into this interagency agreement between the two agencies, which will then allow through the consortium and state parks, the work that was authorized at the budget session to occur. To be clear, though, there will be some cost to the city in terms of the survey of the land. We have agreed to do that. That was up in the air and removed from this agreement. However, it's my understanding that we are going to go ahead and do that, so.
Okay, Councilman White.
Madam Chair, through you to either Chief of Staff Ash or Stephanie. So the language on this motion today is for us to move to approve in an amount of $3,500,000. Is that correct language, or should we have amended language on that? Understanding that we're just entering into an agreement with state parks and that 3.5 million is not going to be spent from the city.
Madam Chairman, through you to Councilman White, I would recommend that the language be a motion to approve the interagency agreement between the State Parks and Cultural Resources and the City of Cheyenne without designating an amount, since we're not spending 3.5 million.
Thank you. That was the struggle here. Any other questions or comments from committee? Yes. Any public comment? Hearing or seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman White and a second from Councilman Johnson to approve. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Okay, this item will move forward with a recommendation to approve at the next meeting of the council. Next item, please.
Madam
No.
Chair, before this item gets read, to avoid any appearance of conflict of interest, I will
Thank
be recusing myself from this item. President Escobar has graciously accepted to pinch hit in my place on this item.
Okay, thank you. Have a great day. Okay, and with that, it will be noted that Councilman White has left and President Escobar is joining us. Okay,
Number 19A, consideration of bid number S-2-25 for an agreement between the City of Cheyenne and Ryman Corp. For the depot renovation project.
staff report, please.
Madam Chair, Jason Sanchez, Community Rec and Events. So this proposal is to do a number of projects at the Depot Museum. First of which is renovating the existing first floor restrooms located between the Depot lobby and the Accomplice Brewing. This scope includes replacement of restroom fixtures such as toilets, urinals, lavatories, countertops, and accessories. We'll update the finishes and make adjustments to provide proper handicap access and to prevent some of the vandalism that we have. We'll repair 5 of the doors on the building, 2 of which will be a little bit wider. They'll have the normal door, but a secondary option to open so we could get larger carts in, like for tables and moving chairs without damaging the doors or the door jams. A major portion of this is the development of the pedestrian area on the south side of the building, the southern exterior. Part of that is to replace the chain link fence with an ornamental fence. We'll go all the way from Accomplice down to where the UP building is on 15th Street. So just before the Gunslingers. Part of the work here is to also renovate the kitchen area adjacent to the depot lobby. This renovation work will update the area and allow use for catering and by a caterer or a concessionaire. And just for a note, we did meet with Councilwoman Aldridge at the location, and she gave us some advice and some guidance on how to properly set the area up. And so we took that advice into consideration. We'll add additional power receptacles to the exterior of the building. We'll repair the in-floor train map display in the depot lobby, and we'll replace the exterior door locks with keypads and access control in selected areas. Ryman was the low responsive bid in an amount of $1,426,265. I do have TDSI, Christie from the depot, and Ryman in attendance and will be available to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments from committee? Councilman Johnson.
Yes, on item 7, it talked about the map being inoperable on the floor. So I kind of was, it's just a map, that's kind of just there. So I didn't know what they meant by inoperable.
Madam
You
Chair,
just think it's only a map.
it actually has bytes and some features to it, and so that'll be repaired.
Sorry, because I was like, I thought for some reason I may have missed it over the last 25, 30 years that there was supposed to be like some model train and it was supposed to be blocked off that when it was inoperable. So I was like, did I miss something on the map? So, okay, that makes sense that it's just lighting.
Any other questions from or comments from committee? Okay, any public comments? Okay, Councilman Laybourne.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Madam Chairman and members of the committee. I didn't know if I'd ever live long enough to see this happen. This is really a big step that is part of the improvement of the plaza, of the depot, and that space in the back there that is part of this bid is going to really make a big difference, as well as, of course, the kitchen. So I'm very glad to see this happen, and I certainly applaud those folks that were involved in making it happen, because this is going to connect also up to the plans we are currently underway with the 15th Street project. So these really are game-changing improvements to an existing facility. Thank you.
Any other public comments? I would just like to say I am thrilled that we have such high quality partners on this with TDSI and with Ryman Construction, and looking forward to a great project. So, and I see that we have Callie Garrett and people from Ryman with us today. So thanks for being here. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the bid in the amount of $1,426,265. Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Johnson, a second from Councilman Escabel. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, this item will move forward with a recommendation to approve at the next meeting of the council. That concludes our agenda for today. I hope you have a great week.